Anyways, my name is Michael. I met you last year, Spooky Empire, right here in Orlando,
Right
Florida.
here in Orlando, Florida?
Cheap pop.
Right here. Right here. In Orlando, Florida.
I love it. I love it when you used to always do that. So my question, I follow you on Twitter and everything, and one of the cool things, you're a big proponent of women's wrestling.
Yeah.
So, right now, I feel like women's wrestling, the storylines are better than the men's storylines. More interesting with Charlotte, Becky, and of course Ronda Rousey. And the thing is, what I want to bring up is Becky, she, other than the last 2 years, not really people knew about her. She all of a sudden became, out of nowhere, this shining character because she was finally given that time, that voice, that storyline. So in your day, back when it was you, The Rock, Stone Cold, Undertaker, dropping it down, it was just basically kind of Lita and Trish Stratus.
Right.
Was there someone else? Was there another women's wrestler there that you think, if they had the light shined on them, they could have been the breakout character like Becky Lynch, but they never got that opportunity?
Good question. First, I'm going to just give my take on it. I don't feel like Becky came out of nowhere. I feel like the time she spent in WWE, and it was so impressive that people could tell she was being held down. So when she finally had a chance, her big angle, and she turned on Charlotte, fans were like, I was in a house with some people watching the show, and they thought they were chanting, "You deserve it," at Charlotte. And I said, no, I think they're chanting it at Becky. And they said, well, why would they be chanting that at Becky? I said, I think they realize this is her big break. And they're just so happy she's received it. And again, not to drop any names, but Becky would get in touch with me every now and then and express a little bit of her frustration. And I said, here's 2 pieces of advice. Be patient and be ready. If you get that chance, and I gave her an example of when I wasn't supposed to speak when I was in the Memphis wrestling territory in 1988 because I had a couple of telltale vowel sounds that gave me away as being a New Yorker, even though I was supposed to be from New Mexico. They didn't think fans would forgive me, especially when I became a good guy. So I was told not to speak. But on live television, Lance Russell, one of the greatest announcers we've ever had, he just said, "What do you think of that, Jack?" And I had a promo in my head, and I cut that promo. And when I got back to the back, they were like, "I guess we can forget about you not talking." Mm-hmm. And it was like a real career break because I had been ready. And I said, just be patient and be ready. And when she got the chance, she really knocked it out of the park. So one of the names, this is someone I really went to bat with. I even kissed Vince McMahon's butt on her behalf, was Melina. I had seen her work. She was a worker at a time when they were just recruiting beautiful women to wrestle. They thought, honestly, they felt like people would rather see beautiful women learn to wrestle. And in some cases, they did a great job, and in some cases, they really stuck with it. I remember seeing the Bella Twins like 6 months after I'd first met them and thought, they're nice girls, but they're nice young women, they'll never make it. And then I was talking to the recruits at the Florida Championship Wrestling in Tampa, and I see those 2 young ladies. I was just pouring perspiration, hanging on my every word, and I was waved to them, and I was never so happy to be proven wrong. But I think if Melina had come in, if she was about 5 years too early, and she still did a good job, but women very rarely got more than 3 or 4 minutes. And there's a really good TV match she had with Trish Stratus that was only like 5 or 6 minutes long. But I think based on that, you'd say, if she had 15, 20 minutes, she could have really taken that ball and ran with it. So that would be my answer there.
Very cool. Thank you, Mick.
You got it.
And she's still working, Melina. She seems to be working a lot.
Every now and then. Is she really?
Yeah.
Okay, because I know she was doing appearances. I told her when she left WWE, now's the time, go to Mexico because she's Mexican by descent, and she was making appearances. But I think like a lot of people, your heart gets kind of broken when you left there. And so I really look up to the people who become bigger stars when they leave. And, thinking of guys like Cody Rhodes, look at him now. He had an idea of where he wanted his career to be. He didn't foresee that happening with WWE, and so he left and is, making his own future. Go ahead.
What's your name?
No pressure. My name's Tom from Philadelphia.
How you doing, Tom?
And for someone like myself who's trying to make it on the indie scene, and someone who actually trained at the old ECW arena.
Yeah.
Who, as you know, is not very most friendly fans there.
Yeah, oh no.
Can you give a little insight as to what you think they're looking for nowadays? I know with NXT and the whole Performance Center, I think it's more like charisma-based, promo ability, and also if you could give a quick Owen Rib story.
It's hard to give a quick Owen Rib story. You know, as they're usually diabolical but harmless at the same time. He just would do great voices. He would call you up to your hotel room, pretend to be the guy working the front desk, who would then ask meddling questions about wrestling. And, you know, come on, Mr. Foley, I saw you tapping your foot on the ground. I think that wrestling's fake. And you'd go within 5 minutes, be like, I'll be down at the front desk in a couple minutes. And then you'd hear him laughing, you know, riling up Stu Hart. One of my favorite stories is when Brett was rooming with his dad, Stu, and a guy pretending to be Reggie Park, who made belts but was a famous, you know, tough guy wrestler, told Stu, he called up, and, I think I could have taken you. And then Brett hears his dad go, well, Reg, if you thought you could have taken me, why didn't you just try? And I'm doing a terrible Stu Hart imitation there. It's awful there.
You have good imitations, though. They haven't heard your
I've got like
Vince
3
McMahon
or 4 voices. And then he hung up the phone. He's like, I think Owen got me there. So he was always good at doing those voices. What was the first part of the question? Oh, what are they looking for? Just something that makes you stand out. You know, thankfully they're not looking for guys who are 6'4", 250 and ripped now. You know, I like to think I had a little something to do with opening up Mr. McMahon's mind, that there were all types. And I think Paige was another person who let them see that, hey, they don't all have to look the same, you know. And then I think she was a big part of that women's revolution. Probably doesn't get enough credit. Love her movie. If you haven't seen it, it's good, right? It's so good, and so many people who've enjoyed it are not wrestling fans at all. It's a great movie. But promo ability is really key. There's a lot of guys who can do great moves, so the move sets of almost every independent wrestler are better than the move sets of the best wrestlers, you know, from 25 years ago. So you have to find a connection, make a connection with that audience, and it's not easy. If there was a textbook, you need a textbook just to address who to shake hands with and who to stand up for, who to stay seated for. It's really complex backstage. But if there's a way to connect with the audience, that's always the key. But you have to stay safe, as crazy as it sounds coming from me. Be realistic. Don't let anyone else decide for you what being a success is. And most of all, don't forget to have fun along the way. Okay? It's supposed to be fun.
Well, really quick, you just mentioned the Page movie, and I don't think this is a spoiler, but Vince Vaughn mentioned that he was thrown off the top of a cage. How did you feel about Vince Vaughn using your moment?
Yeah, well, you know, yeah, I felt like that was a little tip of the hat, you know, and then when The Rock said I threw him 30 feet, A Rock never threw me 30 feet, but he did a lot of terrible things to my body at my bequest. So I believe that was a little tip of the hat to me. Yeah, I was a guy, I went to great extremes to help out other people, but along the way, you know, people appreciated it, and that's part of what allows me to sit on a couch, tell slightly exaggerated stories, and still be able to make a living. So it did not go unnoticed at all. All right.
What's your name?
Hi, I'm Shadow.
And you were cosplaying as the kid from There's Something About, what is the most depressing movie of all time? What was,
Shawshank Redemption.
No, not the Shawshank Redemption. It was uplifting.
That's uplifting?
I don't know. Where John C. Reilly plays the father of the worst kid to ever live. No? I'm glad you didn't see it. What is it?
50 Shades of Grey.
No, not that. Go ahead, but go ahead. You're not cosplaying as him.
All right. So just like earlier, it was asked to the audience to give unique questions, and
Yeah.
I hope I have a unique one. All right. So have you ever had anybody, you know, just try to play your theme song with a unique instrument? You know, just like, for example, in WrestleMania 24, John Cena, his entrance, he had the band, you know, like with the high school band, and then he was playing his theme song. That was really awesome. And would you be willing to hear it from the Beating Bow?
No. Next question. No, go ahead. Of course I would.
I'm going to record this.
Of course I would. Yeah, record this. Okay. This should be cool. All right, let's hear it.
You can hear it.
I do hear it. Very well done.
Good job, man.
The only other person who's ever played my music live is Nita Strauss. So you're in good company there.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. That was really cool.
I think we see a duet happening, Nita. And what was that instrument called? The Bienenbau.
I like that. That's really cool. All
What's your
right.
name?
How you doing, Mick? My name is Paul. I'm from New Mexico.
All right.
So I was wondering, of the two,
My fictional home state.
yes, of the two, what gave you the most personal satisfaction when you were told that you were going to win the World Heavyweight Championship?
Nobody told me anything. I went out there and took it from the
When
biggest star in the
when
world.
When you took it down, or when you found out that you had the #1 bestseller on the New York bestseller list?
Whoa. That's two different feelings because, first of all, I never saw any of them come, either of them coming, right? They weren't even like, it was never my goal to be WWE champion because I knew I wasn't championship material. I just wanted to have the best matches I could and the best programs. And I took a lot of pride. I thought, and one thing I did have was an ability to mesh well with a variety of different people so that the programs seemed to always get some good interest. I felt like my slugging percentage, my feud slugging percentage, if there is such a thing, was pretty high. But I never thought of myself, I thought I was the guy to beat to get to the champion, And so when I went out and took it from The Rock in a shoot.
Yeah, I believe that.
Because I never placed any on that title, never let it define me. Nonetheless, it was a complete surprise. But the feeling that came to me when I got it was really dramatic, really overwhelming sense of joy. And so everything I did when I ran around the ring with the title, everything I said was just from the heart, And then when it went on to, the next day with the ratings told was that, 500,000 people had switched channels almost immediately to WWE.
Thank you, Tony Schiavone.
Yeah, it was a huge deal. I was so, I was sitting next to a woman yesterday. And we started talking about books, and I mentioned that I'd written a book. And then she Googled me, and she was like, #1 bestseller, wow. And I said the sense of satisfaction was in writing it and doing the best I could, because I was the first of the guys to actually, do my own writing, first of any of the wrestlers, and probably just about any sports figure or celebrity. So I really took a lot of satisfaction having written it. And then seeing it do so well was just icing on the cake. But what it did for me in the longer run was it allowed me to take chances, to say, hey, if I could do that, why can't I try something else and put my heart into it? And then if it doesn't succeed, at least I know that I did the best I could. All right?
Thanks a lot.
All right. You got it. Hello there. Jason Lives is what, number 6?
Yeah.
That was my
I think
favorite.
so, right?
That was my
When
favorite
I've seen the
Friday.
movies, but listen, I don't keep up with all the. All right, so listen, I've been thinking about this question now. I had a question before, but I think this is a better one. Mick Foley, Dude Love, Cactus Jack, Mankind.
Yeah.
If you could pick a manager to manage any one of your characters, who would it be? And in your opinion, a separate question, who do you think the best manager of all time is?
Oh, wow. That's putting a lot of pressure on me. Best manager of all time. Best manager of all time.
Bobby Eaton.
Between Heyman and Cornette, for me, yeah, I think best managers of all time. Maybe Bobby Heenan up there, as Bobby took so many great. He took so many great physical bumps, and he gave people that unparalleled, rush when the guy that had so much heat, especially some of the stuff he did in AWA, would result in that, like biannual butt kicking, where just an incredible release of joy to see Bobby taking those bumps. And then the best, I had Paul Bearer. He was the perfect manager for Mankind. Cactus Jack, I go back to my old buddy Brian Hildebrand, who was refereed as Dr. Mark Curtis in WCW. He was so much fun. I loved working with him. He taught me so much along the way. One of my best friends. lost him way too soon to stomach cancer. And dude I would have loved to have had Jimmy Boogie Woogie Man Valiant, because he was basically the guy I stole all my dude stuff from anyway.
What about Jesse Ventura?
Jesse Ventura as a dude, I don't see that connection there. Jesse did wear some ties.
Just in general. Like, I mean, I know he was a commentator, but what do you think? How do you think he would do as a manager?
Oh, he probably would have been really good. Yeah, I never even thought about that. Yeah. I'm so glad to see my friend there online. Not that I'm not glad to see you too, Miss. Go ahead.
What's your name?
Just a little short. Monica. So
Hi, Monica.
my question is about Sacco. How many has there been?
Oh, for the first 3 weeks, there was only one. And I was quickly becoming the second least popular in the WWE dressing room, with Al Snow being the least.
That's why I was wondering if one lasted longer than any of the other ones.
No, they usually had a one-day shelf life, and then I would throw them out to the crowd. And that's why I wrote off like $380 in socks on my taxes. All right, thank you. Yes. Are you enjoying yourself?
Yes, sir.
Oh, good.
Hi again, Mick. So I just realized I recognized your voice from somewhere. Can you tell me your least favorite and favorite part about playing the boulder from Avatar: The Last Airbender?
Now, speaking of Jesse Ventura, I didn't know when I did it that the character was going to look like The Rock. And people was like, he was, copying The Rock. I was like, no, I had no idea what the character looked like. I was blatantly ripping off Jesse Ventura, because I'm not really, I can do a Vince McMahon, I can do a Terry Funk, but I don't have a lot of range in my voices. So all I was doing was rolling my R's and my consonants. The boulder is conflicted. And that was just Jesse Ventura. So there was no bad part. There was a voice I did where I kept, I mean, I love doing Mankind and Celebrity Deathmatch, and I remember I was really putting if you have a chance, that was one of the best Celebrity Deathmatches I've ever seen, I believe, and mostly because of the writing, because I was taking on Ernest Hemingway, and they just had some great lines in there.
As you do.
I beat him, and when I tore off his limbs, they go, "Oh, a farewell to arms," which is a great line. And then at the end of the match, they go, "I guess we know for whom that bell tolls." But I was really putting my all into it, and I said, "Geez, how many of the celebrities do their own voices?" They said, "Counting you," and I said, "Yeah." And they said, "One." I said, "Really?" I said, "Most of the celebrities don't find it as funny as you do." So there was only one. I've only done a handful of voices. But there was one where they just kept wanting me to go, so I didn't have the range to do it. And it was kind of exhausting when you work with someone who doesn't, appreciate it and makes it clear they didn't want you for the role anyway. But the boulder was great. I really enjoyed it, and I remember being at San Diego Comic-Con for 3 days, and by the third day, everyone who wanted to meet me kind of had met me. And then a panel from Avatar: The Last Airbender got out. People found out that I was the voice of the boulder, and they were bringing me boulder stuff to sign. So it was really, and by the way, if you don't have a chance to ask your question, or you're a little shy about asking in front of a crowd, you can always come to my table and ask me a question, all right?
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I'm glad you're enjoying yourself.
Do you have a question? Are you making your way down? Okay.
All right.
Come on down.